Everybody, good evening, councillors and officers, members of the public, and also those who are joining us online. Welcome to the Planning Committee, Tuesday, the 23rd of May, 2023. First item of business tonight is, do we have any apologies? I have apologies from Councillor Jill Burnett Faulkner, who's been substituted by Councillor Stephen Sweeney. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you. Do we have any other apologies? Okay, moving on. Do we have any declarations of interest from members tonight? Looking around, I can see that there's none offered. That brings us nicely on to minutes of the previous meeting, item 3. On pages 3 to 4 of your agenda pack. Are members content that that was a true and accurate record of proceedings that evening? And if so, do we have a proposer? In that case, I'll propose. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Moffat, thank you very much. Okay, the first major item of the evening is item 4, application for minor development, 23 to 25, Merrill Street, Newcastle-under-Lyme. And I believe we have a presentation from officers. That's Deborah. Thank you.
Okay, so this item is a full planning application for the change of use of 23 to 25 Merrill Street. It's for the change of use of a current office building to a circus and arts workshop and a heritage exhibition centre. The site fronts directly onto Merrill Street and also sits adjacent to the Fog Street Arcade. It's within the town centre and it's also within the town centre conservation area. Internally, the ground floor areas highlighted in pink are going to be used as the exhibition space. And then the first floor will be split into various offices, meeting rooms, etc. External changes are minor. So currently, as you can see on this elevation, the doors front onto Merrill Street. It's proposed to reinstate those to windows, and the new entrance doors will be placed on this corner here, all in fenestration to match the existing. It's recommended for approval, sustainable location within the town centre, and no objections from any major consultees.
In that respect, I'll open it up to members. Councillor Fear and Councillor Sweeney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This seems to me to be entirely unproblematic. I wish the things success, and I'd like to move the recommendation as is printed before us.
Thank you for that, Councillor Fear. Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, it's remiss of me, actually, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually sitting on the Town Deal Board, and this is a Town Deal Board funded scheme, so perhaps I should not take any vote on it. I apologise for that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I have no problem with the planning application, but I'm just mystified by a paragraph. It's the third paragraph up from the bottom on page 6. If I may just read it. The ground floor fenestrations of the building appears to have been altered numerous times over the years, to a point where it no longer retains much of the traditional design style. Furthermore, the surrounding commercial units also have different window styles, and in one style being dominant in the locality. And the point is, this is in St. George's Chambers, where I see the length up to the left-hand side, the right-hand side of the plan application, or haven't been altered. And I don't think these windows at the bank, it was an old bank built for years, with Barclays or whatever, for many years. The only different windows is as we go in Fog Street. And that was a new build. That street was created. So I just like to ask the officers, to you, Chair, you know, the windows haven't been changed, only the curtains or the advertising boards, the internal advertising boards. I just made that point, Mr. Chairman. You know, I wouldn't like to see that facade knocked about. You've been accused of doing things in the past, but I think we should keep that St. George's Chambers as you look across from the old civic offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Officers like to come back on that?
Yeah, thank you. It may well be an error in the officer's wording of that. I think the wording appears to not have been altered. I think when you look at the style of those windows there before you, they are quite contrasting to the style above, so aren't perhaps necessarily in keeping with the former style of the building. The conservation officers raised no objections to the changes to the windows or the door location, so we'd be happy to accept that proposal on that basis.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Are any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Gorton.
Thank you, Chair. Certainly welcome the principle of the Circus Heritage Centre. I think it's right that the Borough celebrates its connection with the founder of the modern circus. There's just one thing about the application that worries me, and that's for a circus centre, I would have thought having space for sort of displays and demonstrations would be really helpful. But that's not going to happen with this particular location, is it? I mean, you've got your exhibition space, but, you know, if you think about the Brampton, for example, what you could do up there if the Circus Centre was located as part of the museum. So that, you know, that's my only real reservation, is that welcome the principle. I'm pleased that we're going ahead with a Circus Centre. Just slightly wish it was in a better location, frankly.
Councillor Gorton. Do officers wish to say anything? No? Okay. That's something beyond our control, I think, Councillor. Councillor Holland, thank you.
I'd like to second Councillor Fear's proposal and suggest we move to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. You read my mind. So we've had it formally proposed by Councillor Fear and seconded by Councillor Holland that we accept this recommendation as per printed in your agenda pack. Can you see a show of hands in favour of that, please, or not? That's unanimous, bar one. Councillor Sweeney's abstention. Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Okay, moving on to the next item. Item 5, that brings us to the land at Pool Farm, Napley. This is for the change of use for agricultural land to a dog exercise area at Pool Farm, Napley. And I believe officers have a presentation on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so it's an application for full planning permission for the change of use of a parcel of land to a dog exercise area. So the plan in front of you on the screen now, edged in red, shows the extent of the area to be applied for the change of use. You'll see in the northeast corner of the site up here, there are some further development proposed in the form of a new parking area, enhanced access, and there are also 2 outbuildings proposed, a shelter and a compostable toilet. New fencing is proposed around the perimeter of the field, and a new hedgerow to be replanted for the lot to make way for the access. So the plan here just shows you that northeastern corner in a little bit more detail. You can see the access details, the parking area, and here in green is the new hedgerow to be planted. The 2 buildings there on the right hand side of the screen, the top is the compostable toilet that's proposed, and at the bottom is the larger field shelter. So the photo in front of you, the gated access here is the proposed access into the site. So the fields that you can see there, the hedgerow is the far northern boundary of the site, and then the field extends towards the left-hand side of that screen. This is a view along Napley Road looking north. So just at this point here is where the new access is, and the land again beyond the hedgerow on the left-hand side of the screen. And then just a few shots from internally within the site just to show the topography and the landscape there. The application is recommended for approval. It's within the rural area, but that is considered to be a suitable location for a rural enterprise of this nature, and is something that's supported by the MPPF. Members, as I've discussed, will be able to see that there is an extent of hedgerow to be removed, but that is to be replaced with native hedgerow behind the new visibility display. that can be secured and is recommended to be secured by a condition. There are no objections from the council's environmental health officer in terms of noise. There is a management plan that supports the application, that limits the number of dogs, limits the opening hours, and that the site is to be run by appointment only. And initial concerns from the Highway Authority have now been addressed in terms of visibility and access. They have now got suitable visibility displays in both directions that are commensurate with the speed of the road, and the Highway Authority raised no objections on highway safety grounds. Thank you.
Before I offer it, thank you very much for that. Before I offer it for members to debate, we just need to remind ourselves that we've got a speaker in support of this application. And I think the lady named is Holly Walker. I believe she's joining us online. Are you there?
I am, yes.
Oh, welcome to the Planning Committee. You have 5 minutes to speak as per protocol that was voted through last week at full council. Would you like to begin your speech, please? You'll be reminded by our officers when you've got 1 minute to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. We speak on behalf of the Woodfield family of Poole Farm, Napley, who developed this farm diversification scheme after finding a lack of facilities locally when they struggled to find safe and secure dog exercise areas for their own dog. This submission included a business strategy and summary to confirm the development was viable in this location and would be a tangible benefit to the farm following reductions in subsidies. Farm diversifications are encouraged by national policy, subject to local policy considerations and technical constraints being acceptable, which is confirmed by the officer's report. The applicants are willing to adhere to a number of safeguarding conditions to manage opening hours, the number of dogs, and waste disposal. The applicants and their appointed consultants have worked constructively to ensure that technical constraints are addressed. Thus, further safeguarding conditions are proposed to ensure the access is installed as agreed prior to use, and the landscaping to replace the hedge lost and to the southern boundary of the site is provided alongside ecological enhancements. As such, it is hoped that members will support and approve this well-researched application in line with the officer's recommendations. Thank you.
Walker, I'll now open it up for debate by councillors. Councillor Fear.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As with the last application, I'd like to move the recommendation as printed. It's clear that this is consonant with policies in the MPPF. It's also clear to me, looking at the photographs, that there's no question of noise problems here. There's no one in those photographs at all. The only slight regret I have is the hedgerow. Sadly, the Highways Authority have decided it's got to be grubbed up, but if it's put back and it's put back with native species, I suppose we should regard that as okay, although personally I feel it's a little bit of a shame that it had to happen in the first place, but I'd like to move the recommendation.
Yeah, is any other councillor wishing to speak on this item? Councillor Gorton and Councillor Holland, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. Certainly minded to support the application. I think there's a very persuasive case for its approval. First question: the outbuildings. What are they actually made of? What's the sort of materials? The second thing is there is no, in terms of the site itself, there is no lighting there, and that made me wonder about the winter opening hours. 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. Well, I'd have thought it was dark at 4 at night and probably not light really much before 8 in the morning. So, trying to look after dogs in the dark would worry me. So I would just question the winter opening hours and ask the outbuildings what materials are actually made of.
Thank you. So the outbuildings are proposed to be constructed from timber, so very much like a shed, like appearance with those. relatively natural. Appreciate that perhaps look a little slightly out of character for the area, but I think the natural materials will help them to assimilate quite well in time. In terms of the opening hours, yes, they are proposed 7 till 6 in the winter, and there is no lighting as part of the scheme. There is a condition on there to control any further lighting. I guess users of the facilities will be aware of that, and that would be something at their discretion as to whether they wish to use it.
Does that answer your question, Councillor? Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Chair. In the absence of anybody jumping up and down to admit that they were the councillor that called this application in, I'd like to draw attention to the objections that were raised solely so that we've given a hearing to them. So the three that are listed at the top of our report are highway safety, light impact, and the proposed opening hours. I've not seen anything in our report or from our officers that speaks to light impact and proposed opening hours, but I do note that the Highways Authority objects to this application. It is somewhat buried at the bottom of the officer's report, and it does mention first that the Highways Authority has withdrawn its objection because of the visibility splay, thanks to the removal of 22 metres worth of hedge. But the Highways Authority does still object. I'm always surprised when the Highways Authority gives us anything other than a one-line response. So I'd be very interested in peering a little bit into the nature of the Highways Authority's objection, because if their judgment is that this is not a sustainable place for this development, I'd like to know why our officers are recommending it for approval. Thank you.
Holland, would you like to come back on that, please?
Yeah, thank you. So yes, the Highway Authority response is almost twofold in that they have no objections in terms of highway safety, so they're satisfied with the access arrangements and parking. However, they also, in their responses now on planning applications, look at the sustainability of a site in terms of vehicle movements and whether it is the correct location. They have objected, given its rural location and that users of the site are going to rely on the motor vehicle to get there. However, the NPPF supports such rural enterprises. Such the nature of an application like this is very likely to be found in a rural location. So on that basis, we're happy to support the application and note the Highway Authority's objections, but on this occasion disagree.
Councillor Holland.
I mean, if you want to indulge me, Chair, I'll say something that might be unpopular with the proposed users of the site, which is this seems totally mad to me. The Highways Authority have said that it's not sustainable because there's no alternative transport. You have to drive there. Let's imagine that I own a dog. Most people have chosen to own a dog. A friend of mine I went to school with was in a film once about somebody who inherited a dog, and she didn't choose to have the dog, but it's a charming comedy and it all turns out well in the end. But let's imagine that I like my dog and that I own my dog because I've chosen to own the dog. Instead of exercising my dog, let me get this right. I put my dog in the car. I drive my dog to this location. With a maximum of 5 other dogs, it is then permitted to roam a space for a maximum of an hour within the permitted operating hours. And then the dog gets back in the car and I drive it somewhere else. And that is my dog's. I mean, it's just very crazy to me that that's a business that people will pay money to do. Now, that's not a valid planning objection. That's just my observation on dog ownership and how people choose to exercise their dogs and live their lives. It just seems a very, very strange thing to me. And I'm not sure. So this application is not providing housing. It doesn't say anything in the application about supporting jobs. And the Highways Authority, in my view, has a point when it says this is unsustainable development in a quite very rural location. And we're being asked to approve 22 metres of hedge being removed and then a business that operates in what I think is a frankly bizarre way. Thank you, Chair.
For Holland, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo Councillor Holland's comments. I think there's certain areas that I do feel that it is a material planning consideration, because when considering the viability of this, we also have to counter that with the fact that it is actually doing quite a significant amount of harm within the Greenbelt. It's looking to remove hedgerows and put structures in place and introduce traffic, which does have a significant impact. And I could understand for certain enterprises why that impact could be mitigated. I'm agree with Councillor Holland that I don't really see the viability of the enterprise here and how that impact is going to be mitigated by that. I think actually where I would disagree is that I wouldn't expect to see something like this in a rural location. I'd expect to see something like this in a very urban location where there is a lack of facilities for walking animals. But yeah, I'm not entirely happy or convinced about this, I'm afraid.
Wishing to speak? Councillor Sweeney and then Councillor Fear.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, clear my throat. No, the Highway Authority, following the submission of additional details, the Highway Authority withdrawn their objections on highway safety grounds. Fair enough. However, they maintain their concerns regarding sustainability. Does concerns get trumped by objections? I mean, that presumably is a word that's been put in there on purpose. I normally see objections, not concerns. So does concerns trump objections on this game?
Sweeney. Councillor Fear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm surprised at this. I mean, it seems to me and remains, it seems to me, entirely unproblematic. The MPPF says this sort of development's okay. It's none of our business to say whether somebody's proposed business is viable or not. That's for someone to apply and find out for themselves. So I don't think we should be in the business of telling people how to live their lives. They should be allowed to do them themselves. So I think we should vote for this recommendation.
Yeah, Councillor Crisp.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to respond to some of the comments tonight, I personally say we take our little dog Florence to a very similar location. We do drive her there, and she runs about for about an hour. She's a little miniature poodle Shih Tzu cross. It's quite a small dog, and sometimes we meet with friends, and they bring their dog to there. And there's usually some obstacles and frisbees and things like that, and we have a great time. And Florence loves it, so people do use it.
Thank you, Councillor Chris, for your enlightening us on Florence, your dog, and the daily life of. Thank you very much for that. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Councillor Holland.
A question for Councillor Crisp, which is, can we see photographs of the dog? But last question for the officers is that I'm aware in relation to the removal of the hedgerow that an ecology report was commissioned and forms part of the application documents. It was quite heavily redacted, and I understand if we were going to pry into that, we may need to move to a closed session, which I wouldn't want to do. But on the basis that I have looked at it and seen lots of big black boxes, can our officers shed any light on the ecology report? Because there could be something in there that would persuade me to vote against this on the basis of the removal of that hedgerow. But otherwise, I am inclined to allow it to pass on the basis that the excellent Councillor Fear has argued.
Thank you for that, Councillor Holland. Would you like to come back on that, please?
Thank you. Yes, so the ecology report was redacted just in terms of sensitivity of reference to certain protected species. However, it did confirm that none of the proposals would result in any harm to protected species, and there are sufficient mitigation measures that they can put in, i.e. not removing any of the hedge throughout bird nesting season. Bat boxes, I think, were to be installed as well, and bird boxes on certain posts of the fencing.
Thank you for that. I've got one question. If we were minded to approve this, would it be possible as part of the conditions to remove the permitted development rights for the building not to get out of control in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think that would be reasonable. I think to limit any further visual clutter to the site and to protect the character and appearance of the landscape, that's a condition we could reasonably attach.
Thank you. I'll just confirm that with Councillor Fear that he would be happy to keep to his proposal with the additional of that.
No, I think it's a very sensible thing. I wish I'd thought of it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. So in that case, we have, I'm not quite sure of a second status on this, but we have a firm proposal that we accept this. Do we have a firm seconder for that? I'll take Councillor Gorton because I think it was you that mentioned it secondly, doesn't it? So we have the proposal proposed by Councillor Fear, seconded by Councillor Gorton. Can I have a show of hands, please, in support of that? Thank you. Do we have any abstentions? 2 abstentions. So in that case, the planning application is approved. Thank you, councillors. Moving to item 6 of the agenda, we now refer to that saga that's been going on for quite some while, land at Dodspool, Betley. And I believe we've got an update from officers in addition to what's written in the report. Thank you.
I didn't really have an update, but I will update as much as I can. I visited the site with the case officer probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now, met the applicant, walked the length of the track, and we discussed some of the issues that are outstanding. He referred to a number of problems that he's having and why he felt that he was unable to comply with the landscaping condition. But we're absolutely of the view that it's been going on for way too long now. And so our legal section have drafted an enforcement report and an enforcement notice, sorry, and I've had that in the last few days to agree to. So.
Any members wish to speak? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Along with this, the application been going on for years now. We've got the application down at Silverdale on Station Road. We asked that report be brought to planning committee every so often. What is the up-to-date information on that particular one? Or will it be on the next agenda? Thank you.
Next agenda.
I think the last time it came before you, our head of legal spoke to you and advised what the issues were and where we were at with it in terms of seeking legal advice, further legal advice and potential action that we could take. I think that was done in closed. Yeah, I think so. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to update you now, but I can speak to the head of legal and ask if he is able to provide members with an update, whether that's at the next planning committee or separately. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Are members content with the accepting the report and also to keep this on the agenda to be brought back in 2 months' time? I've seen a lot of noddings on that, so I think that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 7 on the agenda, applications for financial assistance, historic buildings grant.
No update other than to point members to the supplementary report, which just reports the comments of the Conservation Advisory Working Party, who on both of them recommended that the grants be offered.
And to members, any members wishing to speak on this item? Okay, in that case, no members wish to speak. I'm happy to move that as chair. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sweeney, thank you very much. All those in favour of the recommendations, please show their hands. I think that's unanimous. That's clearly carried. Thank you, councillors. I'm not aware that this is item 8. I'm not aware of any urgent business this evening. Is there any urgent business? Councillor Williams? That was the last item, Councillor Williams. That was Councillor Williams, that was the last item that you voted on. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm not indicating that we have any urgent business. no disclosure of exempt information for closed session. So in that case, it gives me pleasure to draw the evening to conclusion and declare the meeting closed. Have a good evening, councillors, and have a safe journey home. And thank you for the esteemed member of the press in the corner. Thank you.